episode of Seeing Sentai. I'm Mars Girl. I'm very happy to say that we've moved on to the next Super Sentai franchise, which is J.A.K.Q Dengekitai, talking about episodes 1 through 7. This series ended not too terribly long after Goranger ended, picked up right after it ended, and unfortunately is the shortest running Sentai series of them all. Started in April of 1977, and unfortunately actually did not do so well in the ratings. It starts off with only 4 Sentai members as opposed to at least 5, although somewhere in the middle you are going to see a 5th Ranger eventually show up, and that part will probably be exciting. A very notable character, but that character does not show up within the first 7 episodes. And I'm really concerned about watching it get to that point where you can see that Toei decided, oh man, the ratings are bombing and we're gonna need to change the pace of how this show works. Because as I'm starting to watch these first several episodes of J.A.K.Q, I am really enjoying it. Especially because it takes all the little things that worked so very well about Goranger, and then it just built upon it, and it just did it so much better. The costumes for the heroes are so much better. The costumes for the grunts are so much better and more detailed. The monsters, the episode Monster of the Week, their suits are, fully rubber suits, not just maybe a rubber head and a tight black Sentai suit. They actually took time and effort. Like, now you can tell this series has a budget. For absolute certain, you can tell that this series has a budget. So many things that went so well for Goranger gets expanded upon so much in J.A.K.Q. And again, I'm really nervous to see, kind of in the middle of the series, the turn that it takes. Because it will turn and it will have more kiddie kind of elements play into it. But right now, oh man, it started off really strong in personal opinion. We start off knowing that there's 2 completely separate organizations. There's the good guys, whose organization is spelled ISSIS. I do in fact assume that is pronounced ISIS. We are just going to say, for the sake of this series, that ISIS is the good guys. Don't let that carry over elsewhere. And then there is crime. Literally, the organization is just called Crime. And what do? Criming. They are doing crime. Crime is led by a guy by the name of Iron Claw. Really bizarre looking dude, got a big stupid hat, big and fuzzy hat, he's got a big stupid fuzzy, obviously fake beard and mustache, and a really super shiny sequined gown, I guess, and of course a menacing Iron Claw, but otherwise he just looks so super silly. And yeah, he sends out his grunts into the world, and his grunts are called the Crimers. And the whole point of crime is to really turn Tokyo and Japan as a whole into one big crime state. And that's really about it. Now granted, the crimes are pretty vicious. And that's really about it. Now granted, the crimes are pretty vicious. There's so much death. There's so many explosions. There's a lot of cops getting shot and killed just over simple things like bank robberies. It's really super intense. And the cinematography has just, boom, skyrocketed since Goranger. You can just tell they've put so much more time and effort into the cinematography of this thing, and the editing is so much better, so much quicker, so much faster. It's a lot more intense right out the gate, right from the first episode. So there's this leader of ISIS, and he's going around trying to pick people for a certain special secret branch within ISIS. He first goes to a character by the name of Goro, who's this incredible athlete. He does friggin' everything. He runs, and he plays sports, and when he first comes upon him, he's in the middle of horseback riding. And he's like, are you gonna join my group? And Goro's like, no, I'm going out for the Olympics. Sorry, buddy, see you later. And dude's like, oh well, I'll go ask somebody else. So then he goes on and he asks this guy named Ryu, who's being brought back into Japan from some other place outside the country where he's been framed in a murder case. And Ryu's like, no man, I didn't do it. And the dude's like, well, pretty sure I believe you. Pretty sure you didn't do it. And you know, you were a really good boxer back in the day. We sure could use you. If you come and you join our group, I will do my best to make sure your slate is wiped clean and you have no criminal record for something you didn't do. So Ryu joins him. Then there's a chick by the name of Karen, or I think they pronounce it more along the lines of Karen, and she's actually at least half foreign, of some variety or another. Her actress is half foreign, and her father and her both work as detectives, I believe it is, but as they're in the middle of a car ride, they get in an accident, the car goes off a bridge, it flips upside down, it explodes, and she is super injured and she's in this full body cast, but her dad dies and she's like, oh, I've got nothing else to live for, I gotta avenge my dad, and so she agrees to join him. And then finally there's a fourth guy by the name of Boone, and he doesn't get an opportunity to be offered whether or not he's going to be part of this special organization within ISIS because he's dead. They're just going to bring him back to life. He's probably the one that I'm going, kind of the least ethical out of any of them, but, you know, whatever. So what they do is they put the three guys they have, you know, Bunta, Ryu, and Karen, and put them inside these cybernetic kind of machines, and all three of them come out as cyborgs, and now they've all got like super strength and super speed and all kinds of other gizmos and gadgets popping out of their arms and stuff. And then he's like, but if only we had our one last guy. And then suddenly, boom, Goro's just staring him right in the face like he invited himself into the room. It's kind of creepy, but whatever, we'll take him. So now we got our fourth cyborg. I don't know what made him decide, you know what, I'm gonna skip the Olympics and I'm gonna join these guys. And then it turns out the guy that invited all of them, he goes by the name of Joker, and he's sitting in this really super secret room, and he's wearing all this kind of really goofy looking militaristic stuff. He keeps a pet, what is it, a rat, some sort of rodent on his shoulder. It's kind of bizarre. And then decides to tell them, alright, each one of you is a member of this new team we're calling J.A.K.Q, which we're naming after the suits of cards, the Jack, the Ace, the King, and the Queen. So Goro becomes Ace, and Ryu becomes Jack, and Karen becomes Queen, and Bunta becomes King, and they're using these decks of cards that have been printed by Nintendo. Now, if you know anything about Nintendo's history, before they were doing anything within the video game industry, before there really was a video game industry, they were printing cards. Before they were printing westernized decks of, 52 card stacks, they were printing Hanafuda cards. Very traditional Japanese kind of card style, mostly because it was illegal to play westernized kind of card games. But after a while, they did start printing these westernized decks of cards, and thus that is the theme of this Sentai series now. It is a deck of playing cards. So now they go out there, they're all super cyborg robot dudes, and they go and they fight, monsters of the week. I would list off the names of these monsters of the week, but if I'm to be honest with you, the monsters of the week mean very, very little. And by that, I mean, like, they're not the ones in charge of doing all of the crime from week to week. There's a guy above them every time, known as the crime boss. And within the first 7 episodes, we've already gone through like 3 or 4 of them, because Iron Claw doesn't put up with failure, like, at all. Or they just plain get killed off. And Iron Claw is like, oh, your plan failed me? Screw that guy, give me a new crime boss. So crime boss is always, at least up until this point in time, an old-ish dude in a business suit, and he kind of directs some of the monsters and tells them what to do. But the truth is, those monsters really barely carry out any of these acts. They're really more kind of there just to be the monsters to finish off the members of J.A.K.Q. And they never do finish off the members of J.A.K.Q. because J.A.K.Q. is too good. So the members of J.A.K.Q. have been given all of their own vehicles. you might call them mech, but they're not giant robot mech. There is, a flying machine called the Sky Ace that works very much like the flying machine back in Goranger. They have cars, they have motorcycles, so, they're a very mobile team. The thing that I find kind of bizarre, at least up until this point right now in J.A.K.Q, is that each of the members, when they transform into their versions of themselves in suit, they have to do that inside of pods inside the Sky Ace. So you'll hear somebody call out to one of the members of J.A.K.Q, "Hey, Jack, go run inside the Spy Ace and go transform." And he's like, "Alright, I'm off." And you have to go and get inside this pod, and he's standing there in the pod, and then the pod leans back, and then you see their faces warp and then turn into the masked versions of themselves, and then they come out. And you can see, as they're doing their fight sequences and their poses, the poses are so much more dynamic. The cameras are just quickly edited all around them. It looks so much more flashy. The fighting is so much more in-depth. Like, we know now, of course, that late on in Goranger's run, they started using Japan Action Club to outsource their stunt team, who would then coordinate all the fight sequences, and it just got better and better from there. In fact, Karen, her actress, was a member of the Japan Action Club, and in certain fight sequences, even when she's out of suit, she is doing a fantastic job. These actors are doing a fantastic job doing their own stunts, especially Karen. And then finally, of course, the members of J.A.K.Q will finish off that final boss in the big rubbery suit. They will do an ability called J.A.K.Q, which involves them all grabbing a hold of the monster, spinning them in a circle, and then throwing them and kicking them up into the air. And for a few episodes, they land on the ground as their monster's still up in the air. They connect all four of their fists lined up one after the other, and then shoot an electric kind of attack up in the air, up at the monster, still up in the air, and he still goes off flying and exploding, and he dies that way. And that's the thing that gets repeated every single episode. The last episode I watched, episode 7, they actually did not add in the fists lined up one after the other. Throwing the monster up into the air and then kicking it seemed to do J.A.K.Q just fine. So I don't know how long that goes on. I don't know if they just completely up and abandon the fist thing. But I do know it's going to change anyway very, very soon. Also, up until this point, each character has already had their own personalized episodes knocked out. Episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5 each were based on one of the individual members of J.A.K.Q, which is really fantastic. They did a great job. Each of these characters seem to have very, very good motivation, and which is so much more than what I can say about any of the members of Goranger. I think at this point in time, Clover King has got to be my favorite member of J.A.K.Q. He just has probably the most heart and the most reason to do anything that he does. He has this such a sad backstory because his younger sister passed away 5 years back, and of course we know that he is the guy who was brought back from the dead. He was in a submarine for some reason or another under ISIS, and for some reason the electricity, all the power went out in the submarine. He's not able to turn on lights, he's losing air, and he dies, he suffocates. He sees in his particular episode a little girl who reminds him of his little sister, but that little girl boards a plane that then gets blown up by a crime laser, and he's so vengeful after that. It's fantastic. He's such a motivated dude and motivated for all the right reasons, and you can see he's got some of the best emotion on his face. I think he's probably the best actor out of the whole group. Really, Ace Goro, I think, unfortunately, for being the leader thus far, is the weakest thus far as acting chops are concerned, and that's kind of a shame. You watch as he goes through a period of loss, though, as he goes through his period of loss, losing a loved one in episode 5, you start to feel for him a little more. That's probably where I've seen his actor come out the best. In the case of Jack, he's looking for all these weapons that have been killing people, that crime has been trying to use, and he gets so pissed off, and he is a boxer, so imagine how much stronger he is as a cyborg, and he's looking for all these weapons inside these crates of things in these warehouses, and he's just punching through all of these crates one by one. Dude's freaking strong, and just awesome to watch all of that unfold. And again, Karen perhaps had some of the best action sequences herself, as she's trying to help a friend of hers figure out why it is that her brother turned to crime, and she's just a fantastic stunt actress. Absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to see more. That, in a basic nutshell, is J.A.K.Q Dengekitai, at least the first 7 episodes. Again, realize some things are gonna change, and I think they're gonna take place by the time I reach my next vlog. So it's just really unfortunate, again, that this series just had really poor ratings, and there was not yet this sense of legacy, because the name Super Sentai didn't exist yet. So it was like any other show that just had its own individual run. They're not going to try and force it to stay alive any farther than they have to, unlike Go Busters, which they forced to stay alive a little too long. No. They canceled it after only 30-some-odd episodes, and it's the shortest running Super Sentai series in existence. So, well, we'll see next week just how much it actually changed and how desperate they were to save it before they gave up. So I'm at least a little excited to see how this company, how Toei, handled this really, really bad situation for themselves. So thank you very much, as always, to our Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/MarsGirl. You guys keep shows like this one alive. If you are at all interested in getting your name in the credits or getting a request review done out of me, by all means, feel free to go over to our Patreon page and check it out and discuss with me what you want to do. Also, be looking at me over on marsgirl.tumblr.com. I'm writing episode synopses for each and every episode. Even if you can't find them with subtitles, I do my best for you. I'm not 100% fluent, but I have a small level of fluency, so I can at least help you kind of navigate should you happen to stumble upon episodes of J.A.K.Q yourself. Until next week, thank you very much for watching this episode of Seeing Sentai. Be seeing you later.
これが最後の切り札さ